Hey neighbors, it is Ryan from Hippie Witch Heart, and today we are going to be reviewing the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. It's by Matt Hughes. I picked it up at one of the local stores around here. I have not opened it. I have no idea anything about the deck except that it is gilded and partially androgynous. So let's see what we got here. I have box cutters because Austin has a day job that uses them. So these make my life significantly easier without actually damaging anything. Part of me really doesn't like when they wrap boxes like this because I feel like the plastic is kind of useless. Like it's just there for what reason, and the box should be fine by itself, but it does keep all the gild, which is like really shiny now that you take the plastic off. Can y'all see that? Yeah, it's super reflective. So let's see what we got in here. Very snug box. Looks like it's just a black and white printed on top. Oh, it's a cute little dedication. Dedicated to my loving wife, Hope, without whom this would not have been possible. Thank you for believing in me even when I do not. Emotional. I love that. As somebody who runs a witchy business with their partner, this is just a very lovely, touching thing. All right, so this is an 80 card deck. So there's 24 major arcana, 56 minor arcana, with 2 new cards. Cool. And then it just has a brief description of it, the upright and the reverse. So this is actually pretty helpful for anyone who's like new. Let's just pick a random card and look at it. Oh, the 2 new cards are the Well and the Artist. Minor arcana cups. Oh, and it even tells you the element, the astrological correspondence, the directions. This is nice. This is like a really nice, simple breakdown for people. Because I know that when I first started doing tarot, I wished I had something a little more in-depth like this. Okay. This feels, this is so wasteful to me and I hate it. Your cards come in a box. They're super tight in here. They have this on top of it and they were already plastic sealed. Why are you sealing your cards again? Because now this makes the issue of like trying to open them, you could potentially damage the cards trying to get the plastic off. So thankfully I have the box cutter, which works that way, but it's just like, why are you wasting so much additional plastic for things that are already sealed and protected? Dislike. Okay. So let's just briefly take a look at everything. The gild on these is really nice. Like just going through it, each one, oh, that's gorgeous. Each one of them has like different, thankfully this canvas light is picking up so much of the reflection. They're a little bigger. So like shuffling them I feel like would be a little hard to do it deck style. Like a playing deck of cards. I don't see that being feasible without actually damaging the cards. Each individual card is, it's really good cardstock. So like you can see that it's thick. The background is just very plain. They all have that same, I would have liked to see some gild on this side as well compared to just this. Like, but the art style is gorgeous. They're a little bigger, like I got giant hands, but they fit pretty big in here. And so let's just briefly check out some of the art in this and see what we think. So we've got, I'm just gonna go through each one really briefly. Oh, the High Priestess is really nice. This is very romantic. Like I will give them that the art style is just very romantic in the way that it is presented. I don't know how I feel connecting to the art style though. Okay, this one I really do like though. The Wheel of Fortune is gorgeous. This is cool because the background is different. Like if you look at all the other ones, they have this like bright background and this one is just solid like tombstone, which is really nice. Temperance is probably my favorite card so far just because look at that. Like that's stunning. I love the Tower. If you know anything about me with tarot, the Tower is one of my favorite cards, and honestly, I feel like this doesn't do it justice. So this deck is really pretty. I will give them that. Lots of very, I want to say like old world art. It has a lot of Greek elements to it in the way that it's drawn. You can tell that they took inspiration from a lot of that. Okay, so these are the two new ones. The Artist and the Well. I'm trying to get them so you can actually see. I will look up the descriptions of those after we go through everything. But this is just... yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about all of these cards. Like, they're gorgeous, and I think it's a really pretty deck for people that like to have aesthetic decks. I love this. This is a really cool depiction of the Seven of Cups. But obviously, this is just first impressions of me dealing with the deck. I have no frame of reference for what to expect. That is cool, because this, again, androgyny looking, like obviously not wearing a shirt. You can tell that's supposed to be like the masculine side, that's supposed to be the feminine side, but you can't, it's not clear what's what. And that's what they sold me on when I went to look at it, when I was trying to pick out. Weird. Sorry, thought process. This one, these have the guild on the actual pentacle, but this one doesn't. It's on the sun behind it, and that just seems odd. Like, the knight is the only one that doesn't have... huh. And the ace has the hands, which is odd. They just made some choices in this deck that I don't necessarily know what I agree with on them. But when I first went to get it, I was looking at decks because it's one of my favorite things to do when I walk into a store, just to see what they carry, if they have any decks that I consider problematic, if they have any things in the store that I consider problematic, because that determines whether or not I'm going to support them. I don't want to support a business that I feel is contributing to appropriation, using closed practices if you're not a member of those closed practices, sustainable growth of how they source their products and things like that. So they really didn't have anything that I saw to be super problematic there. So she recommended this deck. This is the one. The Six of Swords is one of my favorite cards because it represents change, and you can tell that these are all based on like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, that they have a similar art style and similar thing, but the Six of Swords does not have the same impact because it's you looking at one person with the swords. So you can't, are you coming, are you going, what's happening with this? I don't think that translates as well. I don't think the Seven of Swords looks like someone who's actually stealing, and this is, you know, the theft card. Well, interpretation is up to everybody, but this, you know, is known as theft. And it doesn't, they're very artistic and very romantic, but do they carry, okay, the Ten of Swords is fine, but do they, I love this. Anyone who knows anything about symbolism with tarot, this is one of my favorite things to look for, is the little hints of whatnot, and Salamander is one of the big representations in the Suit of Wands in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, why can't I talk, deck. This is just a really cool, it's got the reds, it's got the yellows, wands represent fire, the salamander represents fire, so it's nice to see that representation put into the deck. These are cool. They're not bad. I kind of don't like that the wands don't feel as gilded as everything else. It feels like it's framed around the thing, but they don't have the same, you know, it's not the same impact. But one thing I did notice while going through these that I want to look at again, and I'm gonna mix them all up now because I've already done everything, and we're gonna pull my interview deck. So I'm gonna pull out all of the pages because they look like the arms are all what is gilded on them. Not the pages, the ace. Pentacles, swords. Yeah. So if you look at these, you can kind of see it as I'm going through it, that the aces don't have the reflection on them outside of the hand, which is an interesting, I think that's an interesting thing to do, that you have what's going on here. But if you look, each hand is the gilded element, and then it has other things on it, but I don't understand why Cups is the only one that has an extra gilded. The rest is like the frame and the arm. Why does the sword have fire on it? Wands has like this cloud look, and I think that just the imagery in these is kind of confusing with how they're doing some things, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with all of that. Because let's see here. And what the book says for each of them. Yeah, Pentacles we know is earth. I don't really get earth outside of the flowers from there. Swords is air, but it has fire on it. So why? Wands is fire, but it has like an air symbol. So I don't understand what we're doing there. And it doesn't give a good description, but that's fine. So we're gonna grab these and move them out of the way. And then I'm gonna find the 2 new cards and see what they say on here. So we'll be backwards. King. So we have the Artist and the Well. Okay. Which I'll tilt it so that you can see like a better image of it. That's what it looks like. And it says, the Artist is card 23. It's the Artist is the vessel of creation. This card signifies mankind and shows when you need to open. That's the Well. I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, guys. This is the Artist. I love the little Hermes wings. Those are cute. Card signifies mankind and shows when you need to open the knowledge that is available to you if you stop and set aside the distractions of human condition and listen. Upright, it represents the visionary, the interpreter, creative and passionate. In the reverse, it is unstable, judgmental, restless, and greedy. It's cool art. And then the Well is 22, and that is Gaia. I can kind of see that. That's fine. The Well is the birthplace of ideas, inspiration, and transformation. All things are births from this creatrix. The knowledge flows freely to those who seek it. Nurturing, opportunity, nature, creative, destruction, endings, cold, stagnant. Huh. So nurturing, opportunity, nature, creative, upright. Reverse, destruction, endings, cold, and stagnant. It's definitely an interesting deck. Like, I'm not angry at anything with it. The Artist is a self-taught traditional artist focused on the aesthetic, referred to today as the golden age of illustration. Combines inspiration from Art Nouveau. That's the word I was looking for. And pre-Raphaelite movement and the symbolist movement to produce an artistic expression all his own. I mean, I definitely dig the art. Like, it's cool. I'm confused on some of the gilding and like why some things are done the way that they are, but that's, you know, you're not going to connect immediately with every single deck that you have. But what we're going to do right now is take the box, slide this out of the way, and we're just going to do one like half thing at a time and just kind of shuffle them around. Yeah, these are really like, they're not sticky, but I don't feel comfortable like doing it like that. They're very just, they're thick. These are thick, like this is good cardstock. I'll give him that. Like it's printed really well. I think the art stays really well. I love the gilded effect to it. I am a fan of reading reversals, so I'm not gonna like worry about which way, because I don't think that you can have good without bad or positive without negative. Like balance is a major thing when it comes to tarot and life in general and magic. So I read reversals. If you don't read reversals, you do you. But based on how this book is described and it shows all the simplistic things in here, I think this would be a really easy deck for people to learn how to start doing that right. That's probably good on that one. These are just, It's cute. We got a jumper. What do we got? The 7 of Pentacles. Cool. So let's see what the book says about the 7 of Pentacles. Just because reading your own is totally fine, and like reading from your own interpretation is fantastic. But when you're dealing with a deck that's brand new, you obviously want to see what the artist says about it, because that's the intention that they're putting in. You know what I mean? Like they're putting it into this, that they want this to read. This upright is profit, reward, investment, and growth. Reverse, it would have been failure, mistrust, unemployment, reevaluation. I mean, I know this is the Apprentice card. So the Seven of Pentacles for me has always been, you put in the hard work, you're gonna reap the rewards from that. So I think it's very interesting that I'm talking about a deck that I don't necessarily connect with. And I'm talking about, you know, learning how to do better tarot, learning how to read reversals. And this is the card that jumps out. I think that's an interesting first card to have, especially because you can tell the deck is like, listen, give me a minute. You'll grow to love me and see what I have to do. Especially because the woman who recommended this to me at the shop swore by this deck. She said it's beautiful. It's always given her fabulous readings. It's not very cruel to her, which I know a lot of people complain the decks can be really mean. I am not one of those people. I think that when you're dealing with tarot and you're going to ask spirit, your ancestors, whatever questions, like, you're taking their time. So they don't have time to waste. They're going to tell you exactly what you need to hear, and it is up to you and your shadow work to break down why you feel some kind of way. So unpack that on your own. Okay, so I'm gonna keep shuffling these and then toss them down there to do, and then voiceover Ryan is going to tell you my interpretation of the card and the artist's interpretation at a later time period, because that's definitely gonna take some time to go over. Hey neighbors, it's voiceover Ryan. I slept on it and I woke up and did another interview with the Ethereal Visions deck just because I wasn't a huge fan of how the cards were coming out in the first one. I pulled 9 cards from my interview, and each one represents something different. I'm just going to briefly go over the kind of feel that I got from the deck so we can talk about that. But I will also be posting a video next week, a follow-up of me using this deck every single day, just to kind of see how I feel about it, how it works with me, and if, you know, what my final thoughts on it are actually going to be. The first interview that I did with it, I wasn't really a huge fan of what's going on. The main things that I want to talk about with this deck are, I don't agree with all of the interpretations. So normally when I use a new deck, I will write down what the guidebook says for each card and then use my own interpretations and what I know from tarot on the side. Right off the bat, I really connected with the introduction card because this whole deck is going to be about forgiveness, understanding, and resolution, which I really appreciated, that it gives you an opportunity to learn something and kind of break away from the normal tarot that I'm used to. So I'm excited to see what that has to offer. When I asked the card, like, what brought it to me, I pulled the Sun, which is huge. That's one of the most positive cards in the deck. So seeing that as what brought you to me, it's a representation of success and good news. There's a lot of things that I pointed out that I didn't really see or wouldn't have thought of initially, so I wanted to come back this morning and do another reading, just as that I'm going to use as part of the full review for next week. But I wanted to give it another chance now that I've slept on it and kind of let the initial thoughts I had of the deck go, to see how a real reading would go instead of just like a first shuffle through. And I'm pleasantly surprised with what I got. It's pretty spot on. The descriptions that it gave fit really, really well, and the cards, I feel like today I actually connected with them significantly better than I did yesterday. Initially, when I went through this deck yesterday and I was doing the first impressions, I loved the art style, but I did not connect with the deck. I did not feel that it was speaking to me. I did not think it was going to be a good fit for me. And I definitely think that changed today. So I'm not sure what's going to happen as we keep going, and I'll update you all in the next video. But as of right now, I think my overall thoughts of this deck is it's not a deck that you can just buy and use immediately. Like, you got to build a relationship with this deck. You got to give it a chance to open up to you and see beyond it just being pretty, because yes, it's pretty, and yes, it kind of gives you the things you need to hear, flowery, like it's hard to take messages seriously when they're delivered in such a beautiful aesthetic way. It's easy to kind of dismiss them, but, you know, taking time to sit and reflect and give myself like a quiet space to read, I felt like I definitely connected more with this deck. So I'm excited to see what happens next week. If this is a deck that you've used before, if it's a deck that you really enjoy, please leave your comments and your feedback. I want to hear how things work for you. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Hippie Witch Heart, and share your use with these decks. If you have any deck that you would love to see us review, please tag us, share us in the comments, message us, let us know so that we can get that and add it to our tarot review. Other than that, thanks for joining me here in the garden, and I will see you next time you decide to visit your friendly neighborhood hippie witch. Bye.